Hello, I'm Louisa. I am a first Gulf War veteran, and I also volunteer as peer support. And I have been doing a series previously after I had my Risperdal shot increase on this book called The Viscit Method. And if you'll see my YouTube channel, it'll be under a playlist called Mental Health Recovery. But the last recording I did under that series was on July 5th. And I had a big fundraising event on the 4th of July. And the question that I had to answer in this book was, what's missing that would make you content? And the reason why this is just a little backstory. The reason why that question was significant is it started me pondering on what is it that I need to feel content. And I kept on asking myself that question over and over, and it kind of put me on a hiatus on my last book study, because I couldn't move forward from that July 5th video without answering the question over and over. And so it started like a mini track. And so I kind of went on this tangent. And in the process, I got my hair cut and started doing things in my life instead of being so focused on other people's lives. And I would like to bring this up. Another book that kind of helped me answer some of that question is this book by Peg Rankin, How to Care for the Whole World and Still Take Care of Yourself. And the significance of this is she gives a list of things, the list of what a fractured Christian woman is. And I typed this list up, and I actually added to my Facebook groups and stuff like that, and posted it on my page, my Facebook page. But these negative beliefs that as a Christian woman we believe is true when we're worshiping Christ. And like number one is the stuck point, take on more than you can handle. And the belief is you can never do enough for God. And just on that, Just on that, just a little bit about that. I had gotten to a point in my life where I envisioned that I had to do more and more and more and more for God, but without a focus. And in this book, she talks about having a pyramid of our priorities with people, and God's at the top, and then you have your husband, then you have your children, then you have your relatives, then you have your friends, and then you have your church, and then you have the multitudes. And it mimics Jesus's ministry. He was close with John, and then he had his brothers, and then he had his apostles, and then he had his disciples, and then he had the early church, and then he would preach to the multitudes. But all of this got me reevaluating about, okay, so if God's at the pinnacle, if God's at the point, what is that? What is that exactly? And those were the questions I was asking. What is God? If I have all these relationships that I'm trying to develop on the framework, on the point of what is God, and I needed something bigger than what I already knew. So more questioning, and then while I was cleaning, a friend of mine is coming to visit, and I'm a messy. And I had books all over my house that needed to be organized and everything, to the point where I didn't know what I had and everything. So while I was going through my books, getting ready for my visit, and not using my living room as storage anymore, actually creating a living area, I came across this book called Crazy Love by Francis Chan. And it sat on my nightstand for a couple of days. I just by the cover, if you'll see, the cover of the book is the color of jasper. But it caught my eye because it said crazy love, and a lot of my loves have been crazy, and I just thought it was like a relationship book. And then one day I opened up and read it, and this is out of the preface, the first chapter. We all know something's wrong. At first I thought it was me. Then I stood before 20,000 Christian college students and asked, how many of you have read the New Testament and wondered if we in the church are missing it? When almost every hand went up, I felt comforted. At least I'm not crazy. And today I do not have a church because, and it talks about this in the book, um, I always use the excuse that I can't do it. I can't do the emotionalism, especially like a lot of the churches I've gone to for that are praise and worship churches where they sing and they get, start crying. And I listen to a lot of the songs that are playing on Air One, and it's like, it's not traditional. And even a church from that I went to as a child, Church of Christ, has even changed their format to be more inviting to the new generation. Because when I grew up, the Church of Christ didn't use instruments, and they actually now have a service where they have instruments. And that was like so, that I remember when I was a kid, the doctrine said, just our voices, So over my lifetime, church has changed, but has it really? Has it? I mean, it's kind of like I equate it to Walmart. Since I got a little deal about Walmart, it's like, every 5 years they change the logo, or they change the they have the reduction in prices, and they get all these people in to shop at Walmart, but it's still Walmart. It's not the same Walmart that Sam Walton started. It is the new Walmart that's about money. When Sam Walton had Walmart, it was made in the USA, and and he chose suppliers, that made things in the USA, and that's the Walmart that I grew up with, and I even believed in that and actually became an employee for about 6 months and everything, until I realized when I got there that this is not what I remember Walmart being, So, once I got in the mechanics of it, I said, this is not what I signed up for, So, many times, I've been lured into going to church and got emotional and everything, and then I'd start going to the classes and start attending services, getting to know a little bit about, knowing the people and stuff like that, knowing a little bit about their stories and stuff like that. And then I would get this taste in my mouth. This is not what church is, But what I like about this book is my concept of God was so small that I couldn't see outside of the little mechanics of a church. I was missing the big picture about why I was going to church. To praise a God that is bigger than the church. He's majestic. He's the creator of all things. And why am I going to church and concentrating on who's doing what and who is what? It's none of my business. It's none of my business what your relationship with God is. What's important is what my relationship with God is. And I needed something bigger. And that's what was in my heart. And so when I came across this book, Francis posed some questions. And the biggest question is, how big is your God? You know, is he majestic? Is he the God of the universe? The reality is I'm not perfect. By all means. I have my sins. And I'm the last person to actually do a commentary on a book about God. But since I've been reading this week, some things have been happening. I think this idea of how God is a creator, and so he knows how to manifest. He's very good at it. He's built a lot of things. And for someone like me that's fascinated with creation, as far as making something out of nothing. It's nice to know that I have a God that creates. And so it was an experiment this week, just writing the preface and the first chapter. To know what my God can do, what my God is capable of. And, this week, last Monday was the solar eclipse. And I was so frustrated because I thought, I'm in Texas, and I thought I was going to be able to see the solar eclipse and actually take footage of it and everything. But I was too far away from the route to see the full eclipse. And I would have had to build the camera, a little box camera, to see the moon go across. But even though I didn't see it, I felt it. The temperature changed, and I was in such anticipation of seeing that wonder. And at the same time, while I was waiting for the manifestation, I was doing preparations. I was cleaning out my living room and starting the task of organizing my books. And it was on that day that I found this book. While I was during the day of the solar eclipse. And I was waiting for a huge event. I was waiting for a miracle in the sky. And then I got this as my miracle from the solar eclipse. So it's one of those things that, I'm bipolar, so a lot of my mental illness revolves around grandiosity, having to see something extravagant in order for it to mean something. So this kind of helps, helps my mindset that every day God gives me blessings that I overlook. And and that a miracle is more of my change in my perception, my change in mindset. So the essence of this book was to give me a bigger God, that cosmic God that creates things that I can't even imagine. But He knows me. He knows me. He created me. He knows everything about me, from my thoughts, through my feelings, and what I'm going to do next. He knows. I can't hide from Him. So instead of being, and out of all the fears that I have, the greatest one should be that fear of God. Because of how powerful He truly is. I can manifest a lot of fears, but at the same time I can manifest all these fears. Sometimes I'm like, He's God, and I discount Him. Man, so this has been a week of me reading this book, and it's like one of the questions in the videos on my YouTube channel under Crazy Love, the book that changed my life, and under that playlist, the question was, how has this changed my prayer life? And it's like this, I'm sitting here right now is a prayer. Yes, I'm talking. I'm talking to God about what has gone on in the past week, and how awe I am about, I had a dream, and dreams are important to me, as a way of, knowing that something's different in my, in my thinking. And I had a dream about, I was at a church, and I was listening to a sermon, and then I heard piano music playing, and I started listening more to the piano music than I did the sermon, and I had started floating. I just started floating. And then I kept on floating to this music. And then the service was over, and everybody was talking about the sermon and everything, and there were like little books on sale and everything, and all I could do was buy sheet music because I was just that transformed from the music. And I looked in my dream interpretation book, and it says that if you dream about piano music playing, it symbolizes a joyful occasion. And I've been seeking joy for so long, and about success and health. And I've been really concerned about my mental health lately. And then the floating is represents, overcoming an obstacle. And I I didn't know how this last relationship was going to affect me. I was having a hard time with the breakup, and it's okay. The things that have happened this summer has been healing for me. And now it's like, a little bit more into it, getting a little bit deeper, which I love, So, but this is pretty much my experience so far with chapter 1. And a little bit of backstory of where I was at before I picked up the book. And, but it does help to change my mindset. I needed a bigger God. I needed a God that could rise above what was going on in my life and give me a vantage point that I could connect with, that I could be in synergy with. So, and if you have a chance, another sermon that I listened to by Francis Chan was a 2-part video on how to stop worrying about money. Or stop worrying about money. And it's a study on Luke 12. But I get so flighty. I just even feel myself just like I get into that. When I talk about this book, I just start floating. So, well, this is just my commentary on chapter 1. So I will upload it. I will, as usual with all my videos, I watch them first and then I upload them. So thanks for, if you haven't had a copy yet, Crazy Love by Francis Chan. It's a life changer. All right. Thanks. God bless.